It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hello.
Thursday, right?
Happy Thursday. I almost said happy Friday just to get a reaction out of him, but it is Thursday. Happy Thursday.
You know, I just saw this headline, and a thought came to my mind. It says San Francisco's new mayor faces nearly $1 billion deficit. Well, that means they're not going to open up the reparations office. That's going to remain closed.
Wow.
Apparently, they were a little bit overly optimistic about the $5 million per eligible recipient for reparations in San Francisco.
Wow. Unreal.
Apparently, that's not going to happen. Pretty soon we'll be doing our end of the year show.
Yeah,
that's
right,
really
right.
one of the things, when you think about it. And that it was this year, but because they finally came down with the decision. But, I mean, it really was all the hype. When you think about it, there was actually more hype. Not that there wasn't hype this year, but really in 2023, the hype on reparations was just out of control. It's when they kept going up. Remember, it was in California, it was like $260,000. We have a complicated formula. Then that formula doesn't work. More. And then I got up to $500,000. Then I got up to $1 million. Then I got up to $2 million. And then remember, it got up to $5 million. Remember, one reparations activist got up to $200 million?
Yeah. Exactly.
$200 million per eligible recipient.
Right.
And we're just roaring because the money kept going up and up and up and up and up. And then when Newsom says, sorry, no money. Look, this was never about money anyway. Oh, that was one of the funniest things ever.
No,
when
I
he
mean,
did that.
it really was. The guy who started the whole thing, when it got around to him in the end, it wasn't about money, which is the equivalent of saying it's the thought that counts.
It was all about money. It's all they talked about was money.
That was the whole debate, was how much. Wow. San Francisco, speaking of which, saw an article the other day. The office vacancy rate, close to 37% in San Francisco. Wow. New York City is pretty high, too. They think in 24 it came down below 19%, but at one point it was over 20. New York City. They said it just never recovered after COVID. I think part of that is what we said back then is a lot of people wanted to get out and get away from so many people in one concentrated area that had lived in big cities for a long time. But I think also it wasn't just working remotely. It was, okay, I can't really afford to live here. I think a lot of that was we can't afford to do business here anymore. I would love to see the breakdown of that. But then inevitably, we got to tax more. Mayor Brandon in Chicago, we're going to tax the daylights out of you to take care of people that aren't citizens. I just don't know where they go. I really don't know where they go in the blue cities. And we talk about the party all the time. The voters aren't going to change. We're not going to see conservatives take over San Francisco, Chicago, or a state like California. That's not going to happen in my lifetime, I'm convinced. But where do they go?
Well, let's go back to this because you said that this audio we played yesterday has to be considered for audio cut of the year.
Yeah, no, it really does.
And it's not because it's from a politician or because it's witty or anything like that, but it's the fact of where this country has gone.
Yep, where we are.
It is this woman from Chicago who went after the mayor because they want to raise taxes to help pay for the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And she just went off, and I think, we played earlier John Favreau from the Obama administration. They're trying to figure out what's going on. The highly educated people are voting this way, and it seems like the dumb people The dumb people need to actually find out what the truth is. Well,
Yeah.
the dumb people understand that the border wasn't secure.
Exactly.
The dumb people understand. Maybe we can come up, just redo the definition for dumb.
Right.
Dumb is now smart.
Exactly.
We could. It'd be cool. It'd be like slang. Hey,
Yeah.
man, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've really studied the issues. And,
Right. Man, that's sick.
yeah, so exactly.
According
right.
to the kids,
Right,
that means
sick.
awesome,
Right. Maybe.
over the top awesome, not actually running a fever.
Right. Why can't why can't dumb be smart?
Right.
If they can change the definition of words, so can we. But that's when these people need to find out what the truth is, and it's a disinformation. Why the peons out there don't know what's going. They just don't get it, and they're not willing. By the way, they're saying that the uneducated people need to be educated,
Right.
and they can't even read why they lost the damn election. They don't even know the issues behind it. Who's dumb?
And then he's saying they don't follow the news and everything else. Well, it's look on the border, on inflation, on all of these massive items on the issues. They're living it every day. They're living the news cycle.
Yeah.
They're living the issues because reality is at their doorstep.
Well, yeah, I
and
guess
on their kitchen table.
Yeah, reality and the experience of reality is actually the best education.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's this woman yesterday, and this is what they don't get. They just don't get it. Here we go.
Okay, so I got a great way how we can what we can do with this budget. First, let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. Yeah, let's start with that. That'll save us a lot of money. What, $600 million? Let's start there. Then let's start with your salary. You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there. And now let's start with the police detail you had, the 200 police detail you had. Let's start with that. Because you Democrats, and you remember you told us to defund the police? Remember, you ran on that. Remember, you was to defund the police? Let's start with that. Let's defund the police detail that you have. And let's put the police back in our neighborhood, because we're not for defunding the police. We need the police. So let's start with all the Democrats, because y'all policy, what y'all push in our neighborhood, defund the police. So all y'all that got police details and got police presence around y'all house, let's start with cutting that. That'll save a lot of money. So won't you just practice what you preach? Remove all the details. We saw you coming in today. You had all the police presence. So let's take some of that away. And then let's start with and I'm asking you all, and I'm telling you all, aldermen, whatever property tax hike he's proposing, or whatever taxes he's proposing on the Chicago citizens, I'm letting y'all know for real. And now, if you all vote on anything to raise all taxes or anything, because we already suffering, homeowners, you all will not be in those seats.
I mean, what an uneducated person.
Yeah. Where did she get such an opinion
and you
or
said,
set of opinions?
And when we played it yesterday, you just looked at me and you said on the air, you said that needs to be in contention for audio cut of the year, because that shows you where the country has gone.
Right.
And that's happening in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you had the majority of people who were complaining, and those were all the issues.
Yeah.
Those were, those issues right there. Defund the police, raising taxes, illegal immigrants. Those are all what drove this election. But you just think and go back a couple of years, and the narrative was completely different in cities like Chicago. And so what we have said, the difference in this election, and we said this a couple of years back, just because of inflation, this election we just went through will probably be different because reality has hit the hypothetical. The
Right.
wall
Yeah.
of reality.
Yeah, the abstract is no longer
Right.
in contention. It's no, and that's what drove Democrats for the longest time, including things like climate change. One day, it's this abstract discussion or the thought of redistributive rights, right? Well, if we just do this, if we just do that, well, reality was hitting. People are underwater. Inflation just decimated the spending power of American families. And you just heard, what she said about defunding the police. We saw that and said that with the polls. When they were saying, everybody was saying, yeah, well, defund the police. And then the polls showed, well, no, we don't want to defund the police in our town. We just need to defund some of the police elsewhere. Well,
Right.
The fact of the matter is nobody wanted to defund the police except for some radical activists. And she was saying that. We don't want to defund the police. We need more police in our neighborhoods. Those things, all of these realities. And Chicago, like all the major cities, has seen a rise in violent crime. As a result of this attitude, it's not even whether or not they got to the point of defunding the police. The tone that was set created an enemy in law enforcement officers to too many people, which had too many would-be recruits in that field deciding not to serve as police officers. And God help us if we ever get to a point. Right now, that's where the trend is going. Cities are hurting for recruits. And I'm grateful for each and every one. But this tone that was set, that the police are the enemy, and so you have the rising crime, you have the decimation of spending power, the broken border, all these things that I've been saying are disconcerting to families because it goes to the core of your instinct for survival on every level. The rising crime, that's a threat to your family. The broken border, that's a threat to your family. Not being able to pay your bills, that's a threat to your family. And that's what the Democrats will never see because they don't actually care. They don't actually care.
They don't actually care.
You have to care. When you care, you look for it, you find it, you know it. We don't have to look for it. We see it all the time. But when they're going back, well, what we need to do next time is you don't care about it. You don't. If you did, you would already see it.
We played the Scott Jennings the other day from CNN, when he was saying, "Stop this! You continue to lie. You keep saying that Trump's going to go in with the military and arrest and deport citizens. That's not happening. Why are you lying about it?"
Right.
And it's just like they can't. And that's the problem that Democrats have. I think short term and long term, they're not backing off on their insane opinions on all the major issues. They are still saying the same thing. Wait till Trump gets in. I saw another Democrat yesterday, good God, talking concentration camps, firing squads.
Yeah.
You had that woman respond to Scott Jennings on CNN the other day. Right. Trump's bringing in firing squads. He's never said that. No. And everybody knows it's ridiculous. And it's like, okay, let's just go a level above where we were even, before the election.
Right.
And as I said, I can't think of her name now, McGowan, Lee McGowan. And I looked at you, I said, look at this video. I mean, her all face, the tendons and every cell of her face was just as tense and as raged as you could possibly imagine. That's what you're dealing with on the other side.
Right. And they don't get it. They don't see it. And they won't change. They're never going to see it.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The USDA's latest farm income forecast for this year shows cash receipts down from 2023 for most every crop. Receipts for wheat projected 9% lower, soybeans down by almost 14.5%, corn sales dropping by over 22.5%, but the crop taking the biggest hit, cotton.
Cotton faring very poorly in terms of cash receipts,
which USDA's chief economist Seth Meyer says will plummet downward by almost 30%. Meyer says we started this year with projections that maybe this crop would bring 80 cents a pound.
and now we're down to 66 cents a pound, if I recall correctly, in the last WASDE. That's a heck of a decline. 80 cents was okay. It wasn't going to be a big moneymaker, but 66 cents is certainly not.
Meyer says it'll be interesting this spring to see how producers react in terms of planting. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our calling. I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, enough talk. Let's get to January 20th and get moving on this stuff.
Can we, please? Yeah.
These people need to shut up and quit talking, and we need to move on and get something done. Oh, wait a minute.
That's why we propose that this Saturday night we set our clocks forward to January 20th. I don't think it'll go anywhere. You know, that Politico story of the preemptive pardons is just weird. I mean, yesterday, by the way, you know, I have to double check and see if that video is AI. I actually jumped over to the Babylon Bee just to check. I mean, it was Politico, but somebody had posted before. Someone quoted Politico without a link to the Politico story. So the first thing I saw was somebody's post about it. And I thought, that's, you know. And then like 20 seconds later.
Oh, my God, it's true.
The Politico story. It's like, oh, my gosh, it's happening. What you and I said, because we said on the pardon thing after Hunter, all bets are off. I'm going to be shocked if there aren't more of them that are even more shocking and unprecedented in nature. It's so now this whole thing about this preemptive for a whole list of people. So Trump can't target, the Trump administration can't target them. It would be the idea, and they're having this conversation. How did you announce that? How does Biden announce that? You know, for
press release.
Yeah. Don't do it. Yeah, don't do it live.
No, he can't do it.
Yeah. Fauci. By the way, and do it January 19th at 8 p.m.
Well, the one I like is they're considering a pardon for Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney.
That's
right.
the one that got me.
No,
that's the one where I saw it. I go, okay, this is the Babylon Bee when I first saw that headline.
Right, exactly.
So the Democrats are proposing a pardon for Liz Cheney. And I asked you earlier, does that include Dick?
Right. It would have to.
Since he also endorsed
exactly.
Harris. Right. Does every never Trumper get a pardon?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. But it's where would the list end? Right. If you're going to take that route, then how long would that list be? Which would be the beauty of doing it in a press release, because you can make it pages long.
Well, that's why we laughed when we saw Keith Olbermann say, you need to pardon 10 million people. And we started laughing and go, well, wait a minute. He may have to do that. And now they're talking about
now they're actually
blanket pardons.
Blanket preemptive pardons.
Olbermann's in his basement going, my God, they are insane. They're listening to me.
Powered by windmills and solar panels. Red Eye Radio.
And we'd be off the air right now.
Yeah, because it's nighttime.
And there's no wind blowing.
Hello?
We've had some low winds.
Hello?
He's Eric Harley,
he
and I'm
saying
Gary
we don't-
McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose.
Mm-hmm. It's a great app. And by the way, Cyber Thursday here at Red Eye Radio. If you download the app, you get it for today. You get it for free. Now, if you download it tomorrow, you also get it for free. But what I'm saying is, and focus, stay with me. If you download it today, you get it for free.
Free, yeah.
Is Big Guy saying we don't have any power because we're powered by solar and wind? Then he's saying we don't have any power.
That's why I said we're off the air.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking to
Well,
ourselves.
I mean, the power kind of, we're not powerful people.
power.
Kind of power.
Okay,
yeah.
no, I was
I
talking.
think it was his little jab at us.
Yeah, I was talking about the actual
power,
the real concern,
energy,
the real concern there.
Right.
So, we've talked about the Democrats looking over the demographic research of why they lost the election, because it's humorous, because they don't get it. It's all about issues. It's very simple. You lost. Stop with all the trying to research the difference between what's going on at the elite colleges today that are producing brainwashed people that are racist and misogynist, and they are.
Yeah.
I mean, the anti-Semitism is coming from universities.
Right.
The misogyny of the radical transgender movement, the hatred of women is coming from universities.
And activists that want to get into corporate organizations coming from universities and corporations are taking note of that. We don't want activists inside of our organization coming in thinking they're going to change our corporation fundamentally.
Yeah, so don't put the pronouns on your resume.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, you told me about, I didn't see the story. Breitbart had it, but it was about the Federal Bank Reserve of Philadelphia. The number of colleges that close each year is expected to increase significantly as schools deal with the deceleration of incoming students. It's something that we've talked about. It's something that Trump has talked about, but I don't think most people have picked up on it, because most people, the vast majority of people, do not want legal immigration right now because of the insanity of what's happened over the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And Trump has said it. He said it a couple of weeks ago again. It doesn't seem to be resonating with Americans, but the fact is there's a problem out there. The working paper recently published by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia examines schools' financial issues, enrollment, staffing patterns, sources of revenue, and liquidity data, according to a report by Bloomberg, and looked at and the report, which was done on the Federal Reserve's analysis of it. Researchers have reportedly developed simulations to determine the likelihood future closings, finding that the worst-case scenario shows schools experiencing a one-time 15% drop in new students, which would result in 80 more colleges closing, affecting more than 100,000 students and 20,000 staff members. This significant drop in students seeking higher education is known as the demographic cliff.
Mm-hmm.
These simulations point to the precarious potential situation facing post-secondary education in the coming years. Now, they looked at, for example, the population growth,
right,
the birth rate,
right. Yeah,
the fact that tuition is skyrocketing.
Right.
I did see an analysis of how many more people are going to college than 50 years ago, and then how many more, the expense of college and the bureaucrats, not the teachers, but the number of non-teaching bureaucrats, which have skyrocketed through the roof. And we know it, like companies finally have realized the DEI stuff is just, is we're wasting our money. We're throwing it down the toilet. Colleges don't.
Right.
But if you want to know why you have more college students or people with college educations, voting Democrat, it's because it's the Democrats that promote the insanity of identity politics, which is racism, anti-Semitism, the radical transgender movement. These are all things promoted in lower education because they're definitely not higher education.
Exactly.
They're not teaching anybody a new way of innovative, productive thinking.
Right.
They're teaching hate.
The United States facing a decline birth rate, which you just mentioned, along with a higher rate than usual, borrowing by students looking to cover the cost of tuition, with the number of students enrolled in institutions of higher learning falling by 15% in 2021 when compared to 2010. Again, everything you just mentioned, it's more expensive. Tuition's going through the roof. Also, the rates are higher, for borrowing. But you have to consider that when you're going to consider how much Joe Biden is going to pay off for you. So on your student loan. And the one thing that stuck out to me is the birth rate. Because South Korea and Wall Street Journal had a piece on this earlier this year. South Korea and the U.S. We talk about the workforce, but you in getting to the workforce, you think about the steps that get people to the workforce. So there's primary school, then there's college for some, and then getting into the workforce. Well, you got to have people populating all of those schools and eventually into the workforce. And the birth rate is dropping significantly. In fact, I think our drop was second only to South Korea, according to the Wall Street Journal. And in South Korea, they're consolidating schools now because, again, you got to fill those classrooms. And so this is the problem the colleges have is beyond this. It's beyond just, the birth rate dropping. It's beyond affordability. It's what am I getting for my dollar?
ROI.
And even before you get to the radical stuff, because most students are not part of the radical movement. They want to go there, they want to get their degree, and they want to move on, And now you have the whole thing of, okay, am I going to be known as somebody from this college to an employer as a radical because of the radicals on this campus? Am I going to actually be able to learn while I'm here, or is it all going to be a distraction based on what the faculty is doing, what the administration is doing in the school, and everything that's hitting the news? Or should I just go to another school or choose a trade school or something else? Because I've got to be able to make a living. I've got to get into something that I believe is going to be, for me, long-term productive, but also a true learning experience. But at the very least, if you're only there for the degree, so you can say you have a degree, you don't want those distractions. You're reconsidering all of this right now.
I graduated from college. Wow. 47 years ago.
Really? What year was it?
77.
77.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that before the blizzard? Yeah. So
no,
spring of 77?
I graduated spring of 77, so the blizzard of 77 was a few months before I graduated.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
When I graduated, there were probably still snow mounds from the blizzard of 77.
Wow. That's crazy.
They're probably still discovering bodies in cars underneath.
Oh, my gosh.
50, 60, 70 foot, snow drifts that the plows came in and plowed,
right.
Right into it. But
right.
the only part of my education that was worth it was the first 2 years at community college, where I took science and engineering.
Right.
That was my degree there.
Okay.
That was worth it.
Right.
The mass communication journalism portion of it, a complete waste of time. And I knew it when I was in it. I was going to college and working two jobs. I was working 53, 54, 55 hours a week because I was working at the bank, and then I was a club DJ at the same time. So the club DJ wasn't really working. I mean, you technically had work, but it was...
everybody on the dance floor.
No. I worked at a rock bar. This wasn't the disco.
Everybody sit at the bar. Wait, you're already sitting at the bar. Never mind.
I only worked at the disco for 2 weeks.
Okay.
No. I worked at a rock bar. But it was a complete waste of time, and I knew it. I knew it then. And I said the last year of college, we never went to class. We went every Sunday, myself, my buddy Nick, and Lisa. My buddy Nick I lost track, of no idea whatever happened to Lisa, but Nick ended up being a general manager of multiple TV stations.
Oh, wow.
Great, just a great guy. This guy had it, and when I met him, he was selling suits at this high-end men's outlet, and he was making really good money, and he looked like, when I met him when he was 18 and I was 18, he looked like he was 50 and I looked like I was 7. I mean,
I have a friend like that.
I always think about, we were, people had to look at us walking down, but even though I looked like 7, I really, I believe he had respect for me because I was going to work at the bank, so I was in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
As he was, because he was going to work, and so we sort of bonded that way because we were the suits.
Right.
But my last year, we would go every Sunday to the library, and there was microfilm that went along with every course that we had, fit every curriculum. It's all we did. We went through that.
Wow.
We spent a couple hours there, never went to class, went to the tests. Well, we did the tests, and I hung around the radio station. Completely useless. And I think about that now, and I said, why did I even take, journalism, mass communications? What a waste of time that was, except the best thing was because I worked 2 jobs and did everything, I learned how to manage time. I got things done.
Okay, sure.
And I was more concerned about hanging out at the radio station. And
by the way, that's attractive to a lot of employers. They will tell you, anybody who does that and finishes, goes for the whole 4 years and they finish and they graduate, it tells me they can accomplish.
Well,
they can manage time or they can go for 4 years and commit.
Remember we talked about the DEI training?
Yeah.
That there was one question in DEI training that we had talked about that we had seen that said, well, this is where the prejudiced are. If you're somebody who goes to college and you get a scholarship because of some whatever, and you graduate, you have it. Companies will hire you over somebody who had to go to college and didn't and had to work.
Right.
Because they didn't have the money, they didn't get the scholarship, and they had to work all the way through, and you got all the extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
You were able to do a bunch of different things, and so employers would naturally look at you. And we went, well, that's the fallacy of DEI. I'd be looking to hire the person that worked 2 jobs and went to college.
Right.
And so it's like, that's the prejudice.
Yeah.
And they were saying, well, this is the prejudice of the system. No, the prejudice is your thinking.
Right.
But, it was a way. So I'm thinking now, what would it be like if I went to college today? If I thought my last 2 years of college was a complete waste of time, what would I think of college 47 years later?
I can't imagine. My 3 oldest granddaughters are in college. And all 3 of them are also working. The oldest is working full time. I haven't had the discussion, yet. But I can't imagine, because we talk about it here, I can't imagine what that's like.
But I bet you if it was engineering and science at most colleges, and I'm not talking about the biggest colleges, regular colleges, it was an engineering science course, I bet you I would not view that as a waste of time.
No, I think you're right. I think that would be, time well spent. I think you'd see it that way.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, now we've got to pay attention today to see how many liberal news outlets and talk about the continuing story of the Biden administration wanting to pardon everybody in the administration. So the incoming Trump administration does not do what the Biden administration did to the
Are they, by the way,
Trump,
if this is happening, are they building cover for Joe? This is how you mix Joe in with that. You act like it's a virtue signaling thing. We're going to protect these fine people, and also Joe. And he pardons himself.
After all the talk about Trump pardoning himself.
Right.
And I remember too, they talked about when Trump was leaving office that Trump was going to pardon everybody in his, and he didn't do that. He was going to pardon everybody in his administration too. He never did that.
Right. No.
And so the Biden administration is doing exactly what they accused the Trump administration of doing, and they want to pardon everybody. Not even for, there's no crime. Nobody's charging a crime even.
Right.
And the ultimate one is Liz Cheney.
Right.
You think they'd go, well, everybody except Liz Cheney, because look, if Trump takes on Cheney, we should be happy about it.
Exactly.
They can't even do that. They don't even know how to properly hate anymore.
No, they don't. They really don't.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.